Ready Check Radio. What's up, Internet? It's Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That means here on Ready Check Radio, it's time for the Relic Grind, the Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast, where we discuss Final Fantasy XIV and Square Enix on a podcast. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. We've got a lot to cover today. I mean, we're just going to get right down to it. Let me introduce my hosts. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, we appreciate that. Give it a thumbs up, a like, a recommend, all that stuff. YouTube, hit subscribe. Why do people say hit subscribe, turn on those notifications, and leave a comment? Because if you look at the stats and you don't say that, according to my friend Ginger Prime, then people don't do it. So do it. Help us out. Give it a click, all that fun stuff. Help us grow. And head on over to the website there, readycheckradio.com. Might be some surprises there soon. Another page up, maybe, right now. Not a lot there, but we'll see. We'll see. I got some important documents sent to me today, so that'll be nice. Some stuff coming soon. Joining me to go over other stuff that has not coming soon because it's already happened. This is Chris Montoya, a.k.a. Tarkoth. What's up?
Greetings, programs. I've been out of town this week, and I just got back last night, so... a lot of things have happened, but I was looking outside my window on the plane, and I came across a great view, and it was wonderful to watch this. It was great.
I mean, if nothing else, the memes are gold.
No, they've been choice. Audio is my favorite.
I think no matter what your view on some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, the memes have been gold, haven't they, Adam Lane, aka Kronos?
Oh, yeah, the memes are...
Look at you. You look like you're on the fucking sideline. Yeah, this just gets progressively worse every week.
This is my Nick Sirianni cosplay. In case you didn't know, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. And, we were going to sing the fight song, but we had to cut it for time,
Somebody get this man a clipboard, says Izzy. Fraudulent NFC. As much as I don't want the Eagles to win just because they're Pennsylvania but not Pittsburgh, they totally earned it this year. They've
been dominant all year.
Under Donovan McNabb, they had a few years where it's like, yeah, you guys aren't really contenders. How'd you make it? But this year, they played well. They were a solid team from beginning to end. Okay. With no QB, well, that's not their fault. It doesn't make them a fraudulent champ. Yeah, I mean, now I can see what you were talking about. Now I can see what you were talking about. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, all right, let's get to some stuff. I don't know if you guys know, but Final Fantasy TCG. That's where I'm going to start today. That's the big news. The big news. Yeah, okay. It's not even in the show notes.
It actually is pretty big news, to be fair.
It's not even in the show notes. And I'm a little ready to flip a table, right? And I am like the most optimistic supporter of Final Fantasy TCG that you can have, right? Sure. And I'm not saying I'm the only one. There's a lot of us, but I am the ultimate fanboy, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt as much as I can. But here's the thing. Final Fantasy TCG just announced the return of its competitive season. And on the surface, that is fan-frickin-tastic. Finally, it's official organized competitive season.
Awesome.
And we've got 6 Materia Cups, which are slightly different, apparently, than the old Crystal Cups, which are the bigger Square Enix sponsored events that take place throughout the year. And various numbers of winners qualify for Nationals, and then Nationals happens, and various numbers of winners qualify for Worlds, and they get a free trip to Japan to compete in Worlds. That's generally been the format, and that's going to be the format this year, too. So 6 of those. And usually, Kronos, you had one in Virginia. There's typically, when they were running those pre-COVID, there were 6 to 7 of them. So that number really doesn't surprise me. We'll come back to what might surprise me on those in a second. On top of that, there used to be something called a store qualifier, okay, or a local qualifier in the old seasons.
Okay.
And there could be anywhere from 40 to 100 of those, depending on the years you look back to. Like, there were a substantial number of those. And there were some rules on it based on like the number of participants that had to be there for it to count. And if somebody had already qualified for Nats, then the invite would roll down the leaderboard. We don't need to get into all of that. Most of that core stuff is staying the same. Except, in addition to only having the 6 Materia Cups, the bigger Square Enix sponsored events, and having them spread basically equidistant across the United States. Jeremy, my brother from another mother down in West Virginia in the Pittsburgh Discord. I know that's weird, right? West Virginia in my Pittsburgh Discord. He's a good guy. He actually Google pin mapped it, and it was like, wow, they literally just like cut the United States in 6 and were like, bop, 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 bop. But it entirely ostracized the Northeast. There is no major event closer to us than what? Florida? I think it was.
What?
Raleigh.
Well, the Raleigh one, yes. So Raleigh was what, about a 10.5-hour drive?
I mean, it's still long, but yeah, it's
from something like Pittsburgh, right? That's like a 10.5-hour drive, and Pittsburgh's at the low end of the Northeast sector, you know, PA, New York, and all that stuff. Nothing in Canada. Nothing. Typically, they get 1, sometimes 2 of these bigger events. Nothing. And then on the store championships, they've renamed them a little bit, but it's the same thing. It's a local qualifier. They have 20 that are going to be scheduled. So that means for the entire competitive season, there are only 26 events to try and qualify for the North American Championship, and then at that event, then qualify for Worlds. Don't get me wrong. Having anything is better than nothing. And technically speaking, sure, Square Enix doesn't have to do any of this. Right? They don't technically have to. If you want your game to grow in any way, shape, or form, you do, you know, but they don't technically have to even sponsor any type of organized competitive play. It would be abnormal for most TCGs, particularly one as big as Final Fantasy is, could be, and more importantly, how big the company behind it is. But the general view from Square Enix, and CB has said this before, it was taken out of context by some, but the product is a miscellaneous as far as the P&L.
I was going to say that.
Right? You know, it is. And it's fair. Like, I can't fault them for that when you start looking at dollars amounts versus one video game and TCG. I get it. Like, I do. On the flip side, although, Kronos, they don't have to do anything, these don't really cost anything to do. Besides, for your local qualifiers, printing some promo cards, maybe a mat, maybe a little trophy, and mailing them out. A very minor expense when it comes to a company like Square Enix for store championships.
I haven't looked too deep past like the initial rules, because I actually just saw the announcement like right after I got off work.
Yeah.
Is the shops that you play at, did they get a store championship?
They have not assigned the stores yet.
Oh, so they haven't assigned them at all.
Wow.
Yeah, they're coming soon.
So my initial thought is like, while I think the game grew, right? Like, I do think, based on what I've seen from the outside looking in, the community is getting bigger, which is great. And more people are playing, which is awesome. Like, the Octagon stuff seems like it's really good. Firing all the time. Lots of people playing. But how many stores during COVID stopped selling product? Because I know all my local stores, even though I don't play anymore, do not sell Final Fantasy TCG anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're getting your product, like, you have to, like, know, or, like, you know, have that shop like you have where you know that sells it, or you're getting it from, like, a third party online. So I'm curious, like, how many stores were affected, like, to that degree. But, you know, because we were in lockdown, you know, people are just ordering their stuff off the internet, playing with their friends, right?
Sure.
Right.
Like, I'm just curious if that's like why, or if they literally just had to cut back because they wanted to do less stores.
And again, I don't fault Square for any of that type of analysis that we don't have access to.
Yeah.
I can tell
ahead,
you
Tark.
from my point of view, you know, when I moved to Boise, I actively looked for shops that were doing Final Fantasy TCG, and of the 3 that I really like was trying to hone in on because they were the bigger ones, they said, yeah, with COVID, we were doing that and we were selling that and we cut it out. There was one left and they stopped. They were still doing tournaments, but they stopped selling the cards a week before I moved. I'm like, okay, well, I guess.
Yeah, and COVID certainly hurt not just FFTCG, but a lot of smaller TCG games and things like that, where you have 6, 8, 10 people coming every week or every 2 weeks to play some and throw down and have some product there, where it wasn't a big deal to order a master case of 12 booster boxes and satisfy that little local crowd. It didn't become worth it because you weren't getting any of that income when they bought sleeves or binders or were sitting there and had 2 Cokes. And like, you didn't get that, nobody owning a gas station makes money off of gas, right? They need you to come in and buy a Mountain Dew. So look, I get it. And all I said on the Facebook group was, I'm happy that organized play is back. I hope this is just a let's start returning to normal season, and this gets expanded further next season. Yeah. Because based on where those 20 stores are, and we already know that because they kind of hosed Canada on the Materia Cup, they're probably going to get at least 2 of those 20 store championships, I would imagine. Probably 1 in Toronto and 1 in Ontario, if I had to guess. Which means then there's 18 to go around. And yeah, it's fun. It's basically the same format. And oh, Jeremy's in chat. Hey, boss. Jeremy's right. It is basically the very similar format to what we had, but a lot less accessible. A lot less accessible. I'll tell you what, Kronos, those Materia Cups are going to be like the most cutthroat competitive thing in the organized play season. I mean, you are going to see some shit go down at those, I am sure. Because of what's on the line. You get the day 2 pass into Nats, which I don't personally agree with.
That was basically like that. Well, not day 2, but you started out. I think the year that I finished second under Crystal Cup, I was 1 win away from starting out with like 3. I think it was 3 buys, which is a big deal.
Yeah, getting especially a pass straight to day 2 is huge. It's huge. Yeah. So it really bothers me sometimes when I look at this stuff. And I understand that there's only so much, various community agents are able to do, right? Sure. CB for NA, Tim in the EU, like, they're of course limited by how much influence and push they have. But where is the push and why from the other direction? Like, it would cost Square 0 besides some promo stuff and prizing stuff, which they probably have, ironically, the more of them they print and make, the less the cost becomes. But to send one to a store that they know is going to hold a good event in Toronto. And yeah, maybe you absorb the flight costs and the lodging costs of 1 or 2 SE reps if you want to send them to each of the Materia Cups, the bigger events. But you're not sending any Square Enix representation or anything to a store championship. You're sending a box of prizing and give us the names when you're all done. It's up to the stores, whether the events are big or small, to absorb the cost of all the bills of running the store, to absorb the ability, the staff to host the event. Like, the stores handle this. And if Square is, hey, well, we want a measure of quality control. We want to make sure that these events are okay. But how are you doing that now? And I understand that the end game is we are going to be paying for the national qualifier and the Worlds events, right? Square does totally absorb the cost for those 2 events. But they're not absorbing flights and things like that for anybody to get there. They're booking the hotel, venue.
I think they absorb the World's flights.
Right? The World's flights they do. But for
that's
NA,
like
they
a
don't.
Smaller thing. Yeah. I mean, I had to fly myself out when I went. So.
And so I get it. Like, I had to fly to Nats too. It's like we all flew and we all paid for our hotels and our rental cars and all of that stuff when we went to LA a couple years ago. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. There's no reason to tell a store that has a proven track record of frequent attendance, product sales, streaming, which we do every week with the exception of the last 2 because I've been very busy. I'm sorry. And I couldn't go to locals those 2 weeks. Streaming the events, doing FFTCG streams, like Why would you tell those stores no when they say, hey, want to send us a $100 box of prizes and we'll get in on that materia cup for you? You send us that box. By the way, we're probably going to order 2 more master cases so that we have stock for the 60 people or the 40 people or the 35 people that are going to show up. Like, I don't get it sometimes. And I know I don't have access to all the data. But you're never going to convince me that sending stuff to an established selling store that you have the data for isn't worth sending an $80 box of prize kit stuff to and adding 1 more.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about the head counts for Nats because you want to hold an event, you know where Square is going to hold it, they're going to pay for it, it can only hold so many people, we need to hold Nats to 64, then make it work. You know, take 1, the top from each of these events. Like, you can make that work. And you're also not going to convince me that your venue, if it's able to hold 64, couldn't hold 120. Like, just, there aren't many venues that are like, oh, the cap is 70.
Yeah,
it's usually like 100 or something.
They always
like
do it at the same place. Well, at least they did. I don't know.
Yeah,
if that's
it's the hotel
year.
right by the freaking airport.
I don't remember how many people were the year, but I'm pretty sure it was more than 64 the year that I went.
I don't get it. It's just frustrating because I love it so much. Like, if I didn't love it so much, I wouldn't fucking care. I'd be like, oh, great, I can't go to any this year. I'll see you next year.
Yeah, I do think the one thing I saw that 2 people get in from store championships, I think that's a good change. I'm sure that's probably the Chris Adams rule or something. Because that man finished second like 8 times. I felt so bad for him. Yeah, it was rough out there.
Yeah, but you still what's interesting to me on that one is, I think it's cool that 2 people from store championships get into Nats. Which, by the way, if you left it 1, now you can hold 40 events instead of 20 nationwide and not impact your head count at Nats. Which, by the way, wouldn't be new because it is what they did before.
Right.
I know it doesn't feel as great if you come in second, but you're
you
appeasing.
Get more events. There's arguments.
Double your events right there.
Yeah, I guess my thing is I agree more with the first point that just increase your head count at Nats and let 2 people get in and just have more store championships.
I thought was
more
interesting
both,
on the 2 people going. They still, the minimum for the store championships is still 8.
Yeah.
For it to count. Like, if you only have 6 show up, then it doesn't matter who wins. You get the prizes, but you're not going to Nats.
Yeah.
If you have 8 or more, now the top 2 get in. So, yeah, I do like that. I think I would rather have 40 events. If it came down to I've got to have one or the other of those 2. Head count at Nats is not an option. Okay, fine. Give me 40 events and just take the top 1.
That's fair.
And Tark, who cares about Boise? It's you and nobody. Well, I'm sorry. Your kids technically live there when they come to visit you. Like, that's it. It's just that's all.
That's so sad. All this talk just reminds me of my Decipher Star Wars tournament playing, and winning a local store and then going to regionals and going 2-1 and getting 5th place and not making nationals. That was sad.
I also don't like the kind of trend I've seen where it's like, if you bitch about anything in this game, you're kind of ostracized by a certain crowd. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's why I stopped playing.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That's why I stopped playing.
I absolutely love the game, and if we can't sit there and talk about, hey, this is kind of a half-assed season, and I get it, this is your first season out of the gate from COVID, so I'm not complaining about that at all, but can we start the prep for the following season now then, and start talking about the next season right now so that we are well ahead of the game? And if that is the type of opinion that gets somebody, like ostracized or not part of any future discussions for stuff, I have a problem with that.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it.
If you're going to the Facebook group and you are just bitching,
oh, that's different.
all the time, fine, whatever. But to look at the situation and go, okay, this is less than ideal, but it is better than nothing. From coming from nothing off of COVID to this is an improvement. Once we have these all locked in and we send our stuff to the stores, I immediately want to sit down and start talking about next season and what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I'm always like that because I'm pretty negative. I'm a pretty negative person. Let's be real. I'm a fairly negative person. Which, I don't know. It's fine if people feel that way, but like, typically when I really like something, I will, and I mean, we talked about this on the show before about several things. I'll be harsh on it because I want it to be better. And it was the same thing about the card game. I was pretty harsh about the card game a lot of times. Like if I thought something should be banned, Riku, like I would be very vocal about it. And if you don't agree with me, we can have a conversation. We don't need to fight. Like we're not gonna like drop our pull our gloves off and have a fist fight. But there was conversation on both sides to be had.
I'll never forget when we played at Phoenixville's event, and you put down Dadaluma Cactuar. You just looked at me and you were like, "I'm sorry." Like, I know this is such a garbage combo, but I'm sorry.
I did it. I finished third at the Crystal Cup. I played Riku. I told everybody going to that event, I'm like, if this card's not banned, I'm playing it. Like, there's no way. And I lost to Cody, the one Riku player, I think, in top 8, the one non-Riku player in top 8. And he played his ass off. He deserved it. But, yeah, I mean...
It's like, I have never seen a product from any company that is such a good product that, like, you have to kick and fight to continue to love. Like, I'm just like...
It's just treated like a redheaded stepchild.
Weird
it's like,
sometimes.
Why?
Yeah.
It's a good product. It's a good kid. Like, and nurture it. Help it grow. Put your money where your mouth is, Square. Let's go. It's a fun game.
I'm not even asking them to do that. That's the thing that's really just mystifying to me.
I'd love to play.
I would love, and we'll get, if I was, had the power, or at least the power to start those discussions, yeah, we would definitely get to, there are other promotional things, and like it's mismanaged to a certain degree across the board, in my opinion. I also recognize I don't have access to all the information needed to say that unequivocally. It's just my opinion from the outside. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways. I did buy the tickets are on sale right now for the first one in Florida in April. I'm very happy that Lockwood got an event. I'm thrilled that Lockwood and Game Haven got an event. That's awesome. And I did buy one ticket just in case I'm able to make it because it's already selling out. I don't think I'll be able to go, so I may have one ticket for sale at some point, but we'll see. It's not till April. Anyway, we got other stuff to talk about. Yeah. Final Fantasy XIV is also having its own little meltdown at the moment.
Little
to
brouhaha.
Catch you, yeah, a brouhaha, if you will, if you will. The world first Omega Clear was claimed by a Japanese guild named Unnamed. Oh wait. Oh wait. It was then exposed, and we'll talk about the expose in just a second, that there were guild members using mods. And we're not talking they were running a DPS meter in the background and it slipped on a stream and oops, somebody, didn't like them and so they reported them. We're talking about zoom out that camera to a global view, be able to see everything in a way that the game and the encounter was not designed for mods.
Yep.
Where'd the video come from, you might ask?
Internal.
From somebody that clearly ain't happy, Kronos. So clearly ain't happy on the inside of that group. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I heard potential stuff. I didn't hear any confirmations about exactly what caused it. But I heard that it was some people were promised some clears after the fact, and they decided not to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so I wrote articles on MMO Bomb where I was like, yeah, we're going to get the Yoshi P disappointed dad letter real soon. Not to be outdone, we got it the next morning.
Yeah.
United States time. So
he was very sad. Sad dad.
So he was a very, very sad dad. It is extremely disappointing for me personally to see this commotion surrounding third-party tools once again in the wake of what happened with Dragon Song's Reprise Ultimate. As the individual who is entrusted with full supervision over FFXIV 14, it is my responsibility to enact countermeasures and police the use of these tools. We're going to come back to that sentence. As well as educate people to not use these types of third-party tools. This is especially unfortunate when I, as a gamer, am cheering on everyone who is learning this content by trial and error and putting in the effort to clear. We all know that the use of third-party tools is not allowed in Final Fantasy XIV. It is a violation of the terms of service. And no, I didn't say this one, but not that one. I said all of them. It is a violation of the TOS to use any of them. Even something that we might collectively here agree is pretty innocent in a DPS meter, right?
Yep.
It's not really doing much besides saying, here's the deeps that you're doing. Doesn't help you besides to say, we don't have the deeps, or we do have the deeps, our strategy just sucks when it comes to a DPS check or something like that. Which you can get a basic idea of how close you are to the enraged. So, like, even in that situation, it's just providing specifics. And maybe you think it's cheating, maybe you don't. It's fine. Everybody on this panel really doesn't have a problem with them. But any are not used. And he says it's his job, and he's said this multiple times, that they're not to be used. They're not to be used. But it has always, he kind of got upset in this post saying, like, some people have implied he's said otherwise. And I don't think anybody's implied that he's directly said otherwise, but it's always been treated, Kronos, as a little bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing. Always. And I don't think you get to step back now and say, I've been clear about this. You have been clear on what's in the TOS. But you've also been clear that it's like hey, we're not monitoring you, so if somebody didn't show us that you used them, it's okay.
Don't show, don't tell policy, which is very disconcerting.
It's still the policy. You know, he can say that he's more upset this time than last time. I mean, he's never not said that they're all illegal. He has repeated that a lot, and I think people understand that. The problem is there's no way to really like track that, and because it's just like this all-encompassing thing, the community, you know, right or wrong, creates a gray area for themselves too. And so the community has the community at large, I guess I'm speaking of. Not everybody agrees with that. Like, some people think ACT is cheating for sure.
Yeah, and nor is this limited to rating in the context of the discussion we're having.
I mean, because if you take, when you take what he says that all is cheating, then, you know, your mod that makes your butt look bigger in game is just as much cheating as the zoom out mod. And while I think personally that's not true, based on the TOS, that's how it works, right?
Which is why it really bothered me when he said that it's his role to educate people to not use these. Okay, I'll agree that you've at least done that.
Yeah.
Enacting countermeasures.
Nope.
Okay, I'm specifically not aware of any countermeasure that has been implemented on this. In fact, that has been one of the reasons that you've said you haven't enacted countermeasures. And then police the use of these. There is zero policing on these tools in Final Fantasy XIV.
The policing is only if you stream it.
Yeah, it's the community self-policing.
Yeah, it's self-policing and the judge coming after you after you've been caught and like, okay, now I'm gonna lay down the law on you. But if I didn't catch you, you know, it's all good.
And I don't think you get to complain about it now when you created this cloudy zone.
Yeah,
like the attitude and the lack of countermeasures. You've kind of created that cloudy zone where, hey, we're not monitoring you.
Yeah.
You shouldn't use them. It's a violation of the TOS. But no, we're not monitoring anything on your desktop. Which obviously opens another can of worms if they were, that maybe you would or would not play anymore. And that we'll sidebar that discussion for now. My point is, you don't get to say, I love Yoshi P to death, but you don't get to say stuff like, it's my responsibility to enact countermeasures and police the use of these tools when, to all of our knowledge, I don't think it's unfair to say you don't do either of those things, and you've created this gray area. Now, in the context of the ultimate raid, in my mind, they flat out cheated.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a different discussion than what we're saying here, which is just like the general use of any add-on is expressly forbidden by the TOS.
Yeah, for sure.
Go
ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything irrelevant. You go. You finish.
Yeah, Izzy says it's hard to compare a zoom out mod to G-Shade. A blanket statement across all mods just feels odd. Too much gray area. Well, it is because they don't want to, and this is Yoshi P's. They don't want to get into a list of these are acceptable mods and these aren't. They don't want to get into because then they have to police them, and they're recommending things versus not recommending things, and then they also have to develop with the idea of these mods are okay, and somebody may be using them if it was something like a DPS meter or let's say some type of camera mod was legal. You know, they have created this entire gray zone, self-inflicted, because they don't want to get involved on some other aspects of this, and then are surprised that they have to keep having this same discussion, Tark.
And the other half of this is, you know, you say some mods aren't allowed and then some are. Well, then you still have this other issue where you have PS5 players like myself who
can't
can't
use them at all.
access at all. So yeah, then you have a better experience on PC. You know, maybe I should just play on PC, and I don't want to pay another, you know, drop another purchase for them for this and encourage their behavior like this. So it's a big whole bag of worms, and they just
yeah, it's just like, I mean, just kind of like a slight counterpoint. The experience is already better on PC because if you don't stream, you can do these things, right? Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be like mean or anything. The reason they take
not allowed to use them. It's against OS.
The reason they take this stance, I think, is because of console, right? Like, they have to be like, we can't allow it because console can't do it. But people are going to do it unless they literally like say, like, unless they police it to the point where people don't do it anymore. People are going to do it. I mean, that's just, you know.
I've said that if console wasn't a thing, they might be a little more lax on what is allowed and what's not allowed. But because console is a thing and they can't have any of these mods, they have to put a firm line for that purpose.
Yoshi P continues in the statement. He says, however, if the presumption is that this content will be tackled and cleared with the use of third-party tools, then any reason to develop high-difficulty battle content seems to be lost. It's very difficult for me to understand as a gamer what the meaning behind using numerous third-party tools to compete to clear world first would be. If the illicit use of a third-party tool is made clear through our investigations, I, at the very least, will not recognize that team as true world first. Great. You don't officially recognize any team as being true world first anyway, so whatever. He has always unofficially, and he mentions that in the letter, that he's always sent out like a congratulations, or sometimes they'll check just to, you know, verify a timestamp and stuff like that, verify a full clear and a timestamp and things like that. But they've never officially like supported a world first race in the way that like World of Warcraft does, or some other games do. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just agreeing.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true. Go ahead, Dark. Okay.
I was gonna say, I would love for someone to do what Unknown did. Wait, you know, a week or two, get that unofficial congratulations from Yoshi P, and they'd be like, "Oh, thanks for the congratulations. By the way, we cheat our asses off." Just stick it to Yoshi P and show the egg on his face. It's like, you got to do something, dude. You got to do something with this.
I don't think anything's gonna change.
I don't either.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, he talks about punishments and things like that, and obviously he's not going to divulge what we know for a different reason. We do, but he's not going to divulge punishment, nor would I expect him or any other company to do that. He also says, we hear the community voice that an official raid race should be supported and regulations should be decided on. This is a topic which needs to be discussed internally, so please allow me to keep this as an item for future consideration. Now, do you think that is said with the best of intent, Kronos, or is that we're not going to do that, but I need to acknowledge it in this statement. Is there any chance that Square Enix actually considers some type of official world first contest like other games may do?
So this was the most interesting part of this letter to me, personally.
Yep. There's one more part I want to go into, but I agree with you.
So, I mean, the cheating thing, or like why people cheat, was also interesting to me too, because as someone who's played a card game for plushies, I've watched people cheat in that too.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was a silly sentence, because if you watch anybody that cheats on things, it's not cheating because they're bad at it. It's
Yeah.
cheating because they're really, really good at it, and
most
they
of the
want to
time-
be
Looking for
better,
any sort of
faster,
edge.
stronger. It's
Most of the time,
it's
the
not
best
me
cheaters are
sitting at
really
home,
good.
never world progging
Yeah.
and saying I'm gonna cheat and make world
Yeah.
first. That's not what's happening.
Yeah.
Stop being surprised that people would do it. It does.
Yeah,
I agree with them. In my head, I'm like, why would you waste your time? Like, how
Sure.
valid is the clear? But it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you don't get caught.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, it's but like any game where you introduce anything that people deem competitive, somebody's gonna cheat. It's just gonna happen. But yeah, as far as like the world race thing goes, I want to believe. I think they will internally discuss it. I believe that part is true. I don't think they're gonna do it though.
I don't think so either.
I think the more likely thing is we're gonna get. So I don't know if you've been following like what Frosty said after this stuff. Basically, I think the community has almost decided that going forward, they're not going to recognize people unless their first clear is like live on stream. So I think that overall will be good for the race, but I don't think that has anything to do with Square.
Yeah.
No, that's community.
I mean, it's kind of
policing again.
refired. It's kind of refired that old. If they're not streaming, they're cheating. Debate from previous ultimates.
And there'll still be people that don't stream, but I think you'll get groups now that weren't streamed before that will stream now because they want that credibility, I guess. And you already are seeing it now. Like right after they stripped the weapons, which we haven't super got into yet.
You're fine. Go. You could tip what happened.
Sure. Okay. So basically, I mean, this is probably another thing that I found. Like, I didn't think they would do this. Like,
and they did this within 24 hours. By the way, this was quick.
Like, I knew they were probably going to ban the people, especially the guy whose camera and POV they had. Like, he was done. And then anybody else who comes out, and then anybody else who gets mass reported, which is sad, but gonna happen.
And apparently there were some self-reports.
Yeah, for sure. And they basically stripped them of their title and told them to throw their weapons away. And I think I heard even like some of them were like just so ashamed that they deleted their character, which is sad. But you know, I mean, it sucks. They cheated though. I mean, that's just how it is. And I feel sorry for like the people that are like attacking them. That's probably not necessary. But I mean,
yeah,
they
at the end of the day, we're
stuff.
talking about a video game. Let's stop.
the people that like, I mean, the fact that they got it stripped from them and stuff, I don't really feel bad for them for that.
No, not at all.
And
I mean, honestly, to me, that's the bare minimum.
Yeah, so like
the bare minimum is you take away the ill-gotten gains. Period.
Right. And then, but after that, you saw a lot of teams that were not streaming their prog start streaming their prog,
including some clears last night.
Yeah,
nice.
Which we have at this point no reason to believe something nefarious in those, right? Maybe. I got blindsided before the show with Mr. Happy's guild doing some stuff.
As far as I've seen,
so
it looks fine. I mean, again, if you don't think all these people are using ACT, I don't know what to tell you. If you think that's cheating, then yes, they're cheating. And if you are just that strict to the TOS, then of course, yeah. And I can't fault anybody for feeling that way because that's what the TOS is. But I guarantee you, even if you don't see it on the screen, all these people are using ACT. That's just a fact.
Someone in that group is at least.
They're probably all using it, but yeah, I mean, or at least the majority. Maybe they have one console player, but
I mean, you can make this better, right? I mean, look at World of Warcraft's World First Race, where the teams are usually all in the same room, all on the computers. Yeah. Everything's being live streamed. The broadcasters have the ability to just swap to any person in the raid's camera at any given time. It's all above board. Are there other problems with the way World of Warcraft works and farming BOEs and gold? And of course, I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying from a streaming point, they don't have to worry about anybody using an illegal mod because it could be caught very freaking quickly by just a camera swipe to somebody. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them are allowed anyway. Yeah, good point. Good point. So there's two last things I want to ask you guys about here. And Tark, we'll start with you. One, in Yoshi P's Lodestone post, some people are kind of taking the sentence, if the presumption is that this content will be tackled and cleared with the use of third-party tools, then any reason to develop high-difficulty battle content seems to be lost. Some people are interpreting that as a threat. If this continues to happen, we're not going to do ultimates anymore. And that makes a lot of some people happy. And hey, you know, maybe they're thinking those teams are going to go do something else. That's not really the way it works in the background. So it's unlikely that they're going to go work on your favorite bit of content. But if you want to sit there and hope, fine. So some people are taking that way. And then the second point that I want to point out or get your opinion on is, so then what do you do? What do you do? Do you just ban all mods, like the TOS says, but now start an anti-cheat in the client that detects, you know, various programs running in the background? Like, what is the move here? Is it simply to, hey, we're going to continue to do the mod TOS the way it is, but adopt a world first race that's official and done in various ensuring ways? If that's the big deal, what do you do? What do you do?
On the first point, I don't think there's any chance that they don't continue to make Ultimate. There's a pretty sizable, it's not the casuals, but the raiders, they come to raid, and a lot of them, Savage is not enough of a difficulty. So that's why they enjoy the Ultimate and enjoy this race. To eliminate that would turn off a lot of people, and a lot of people would unsub and just be done. As far as what do you do? I don't know, because my gut feeling is that this is just a cycle that will repeat ad infinitum until
it's already repeated.
Yeah,
like
it's been repeated
it's
and repeated. It's
repeated.
just going to continue to happen, and we're going to keep getting, you know, sad Yoshi P letters every single Ultimate, because this is going to happen. So until they pull their heads out of their butts and maybe do something official, or
doesn't that damage Yoshi P's credibility though? Doesn't that damage his credibility if this letter just keeps getting basically republished in a different way?
Yeah, I agree. Every time that this comes out, it's like, yeah, you say this, but ultimately you don't really care, or you care, but you're just too gun shy to actually make a move that might piss off some people at the end. But for the health of your game, you got to make a choice. That's where I stand on it.
Kronos, same questions?
I mean, we are in an infinite loop. We've been in an infinite loop for
a while,
quite some time. It sucks. It does, because I don't think things are going to change. They're just going to wait for this to blow over again. It'll happen again. As far as the first point, what was the first point again? I'm sorry, because I was so.
Some people interpreting that kind of almost a veiled threat of if we keep having to deal with this, we're just not going to do Ultimate content anymore.
I think it was like intended to be like a slight. Like I think he meant it somewhat that way, but not to the point where I don't think they're not going to make Ultimates, because even when you take into the stuff that Tark said, which is 100% true, where like it brings a lot of the raiders in, even the people that probably know they're not going to kill it or whatever, like they're going to try it. It also brings a lot of eyes and a lot of casual people just watch. I mean,
which is further like it's like the thing we were talking about with FFTCG, right? It's like, if your Ultimate and your world first brings in viewers, and it's not going to be the viewers that other more established world first races have, why wouldn't you do it? It would solve two problems and be some additional, like, you could make events around it, and the Square Enix world first.
I hope they do, because I think if they take control of it, but the thing is if they take control of it, then they have to take a firmer stance on some of the stuff they don't want to take a firm stance on, right?
Yeah. And that's the problem. We're right back to where we started, which is why this has occurred multiple times. They created a gray area because they didn't want a black and white area that they themselves would have to manage. And so here we are.
Yeah, and then to this, just like quick on the second point, I mean, the only way to do what they want to do and police it is to put like anti-cheat in the game. But they won't do that also, because if they put anti-cheat in the game, you're not just going to affect raiders by putting anti-cheat in the game. You're going to affect a shit ton of people.
Yeah.
Like anybody that uses G-Shade. Anybody that uses chat bubbles. Like, I mean, those people don't stream because you get banned for that stuff. I mean, although streamers do definitely use G-Shade. But like that stuff, like if anti-cheat is designed to catch that stuff, then those people ain't logging in either.
I'm going to tell you this. I was accidentally, I don't anymore, but I was accidentally violating the TOS in 14. for a while. I mean, this was like
Yeah.
a year and a half, 2 years ago
do tell.
with G Shader.
Oh.
The reason I was using G Shader was for Final Fantasy XI because it looks like shit without it. And I didn't even realize the way I had it queued up that it immediately applied base settings. Not that I had gone and modified it the way I had for 11, but it pulled up its base settings for 14. I don't know. It was probably like 2 months before I realized it. And I was like, oh, I don't really need this for 14. I don't think 14 looks like ass enough for me to. And I'm not like a cosplay, housing. Yeah. I know like there's those types of content creators. They use G Shader to get some really cool lighting shots and stuff and emphasize detail on certain things and de-emphasize it on other things. I don't have a need for that while I'm playing the damn game. So I've just stopped using it totally. But yeah, I mean, so anyway.
Can't wait for it to happen again in about a year and a half.
Yeah. Yep, year and a half. 7.1. Let's go.
Yoshi P is excited about Blue Protocol, though.
Nice. I am too.
A lot of people are. I am as well. So yeah, he's very excited. He actually said it was just a brief snippet in a Nico interview where he said, or Nico live stream, where one of the questions was various games. What do you think about Diablo 4 and this and this and this? And they asked him about Blue Protocol. And he said that he didn't want this to sound condescending because it was legitimate. He was being legitimate, that I'm looking forward to it. And it's important to have multiple MMORPGs in the audience so that when a genre starts to do something lively, it creates this, hey, they're taking a risk, they're doing something better. Maybe we should put that in 14.
Yes.
And that kind of mentality. Him and Foxclone did say there's a little concern on their side with the lack of beta testing that Blue Protocol has gone through at this point, and also acknowledge that several members of the FFXIV team did, in fact, the Final Fantasy XIV team. Why did I keep spelling that out today? That's weird. I don't normally do that. The FF14 team had left at some point and went to go work on Blue Protocol. So generally he was pretty positive about it and can't wait to use it as a, hey, this is why we think Final Fantasy XIV is good, and there's some things in that game that could make us better, so let's see if we can adopt that functionality here, which I think is an incredibly healthy mentality to take, Tark.
That was the mentality Blizzard had in the early days of WoW. Like, they found something good in another MMO, and they're like, we're bringing that into WoW, and they're continually making improvements. That's why they had such jumps from vanilla to Burning Crusade to Wrath of Lich King.
Well,
they kept bringing stuff in.
That's not just WoW. That's Blizzard's MO.
Well, I mean,
oh, that's great. That's good. Let's steal it.
Yeah, let's put our own spin on it and repackage it. And
you're right. You're
own.
Dead right. That's the one thing they do is they do put their own little spin on it. Usually, that spin involves making it a little more casually accessible.
Sure.
Like that's typically what Blizzard does. But you interested in Blue Protocol at all, Kronos?
I'll probably try it. I have enough friends that are interested. I wasn't like blown away like some other people were, I guess, like by it. I wasn't that excited for it, but I'm probably going to try it. Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up with some other Square Enix news. Anybody try out the Final Fantasy Theatrhythm Final Barline demo currently live on the PlayStation 4?
I haven't tried it, but I know I'm going to buy the game. So
Tark, did you?
I have not. I do plan to because I'm not really familiar with this genre, so I do want to give it a try, and maybe that will push me to maybe pick it up. We'll see.
Oh, this is a day one pickup for me, and yes, I played it for like the demo for like 4 hours yesterday. It's on the It's on the PlayStation 4, so it's a little weird. It's a little goofy sometimes finding PS4 demos on the PlayStation 5. Go look up the game.
Yeah, search the name itself.
Search the name of the game and go to the game's page if you're playing on PlayStation 5, and then go over to the 3 dots icon. If you open that up, one of them will be Find Demo. Yes, Izzy, there's a free demo active right now, and certain bits of your progress do carry over into launch. There are certain caps in the demo, too. There's you can play a few songs from FF2, FF5, FF7, FF13, just the first one. That's what, 4, 2, 5, 7, 13, 14, and 15. So there's 6 games. You don't get to play like the whole questing area or anything. It's like usually like 5 or 6 stages inside each of those. So there's a good like 30. You got it. Thanks for the heads up. You're welcome. There's a good like 30 tunes to play through, and you'll get probably about 25 characters along the way while you do it. Some of the quests are almost impossible because you're capped at level 30, the characters. So like some of the quests to kill a certain boss, you might not be doing enough damage to even make it to the boss before the song ends type deal. So you'll clear the stage, but you won't clear the quest type thing. Unless you play on the very, very extreme ends of difficulty and you're very, very good, maybe you can blitz it, and I was able to do that on some. Kronos, one thing you and I were kind of worried about on this one, since it is the past games were on the Nintendo DS, was the touchscreen functionality. Particularly, there's a particular note that does a wave pattern, ups and downs, and you have to trace that on the screen. And we were kind of like, how's that going to work? All they have you do is use the analog stick just up and down. So it's a little knacky at first, but once you get it, you're dialed in. Like, you can't screw it up. You're either on or you're off. There's no, I almost had that. You're either going to get them all. It was actually really easy to control. I really enjoyed it. But I'll tell you one bad thing about it, and Izzy, you're going to find out. They make sure this is a demo. There is more game. Here's all the features of the game. Here's where you can buy it. Here's the trailer for it. In fact, the first time, after you play about 4 or 5 songs, 4 or 5 levels, it makes you watch a 5-slide presentation on content in the game and then makes you watch the trailer they released in its entirety before you can continue. You'll play 4 or 5 songs more. It throws another 3 or 4 slide thing at you. Every time having a link to the PlayStation Store. And then 5 or 6 songs from there, it'll show you a third one. There are 3 different little, and I mean, once you've been through it, it's not a huge deal, right? You just mash X 4 times and you're done. You don't have to watch the trailer on the first one after you watch it the first time. It doesn't cue that trailer up again. So it's just mash X 4 or 5 times and then get back to your business. But every 5 or 6 songs, it's going to show you the next one. And when it shows all 3, it'll go back to the beginning minus the trailer. They constantly are reminding you that this is a demo and here's the features of the games and here's how you can buy it.
Advertisement bombardment.
Yeah, it is. It is little. Awesome. Again, it's not a deal breaker. You'll still have plenty of fun with the demo. It's just annoying. It's like, I can't click on the next song because it's going to show me this slide. X, 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 X. Done. All right, next song. So annoying. Final Fantasy 17. What the fudge?
Has that been announced? Who's
making it? It's already been announced. We're set. Final Fantasy VII had some nice stuff happen this past week. So let me show you this first one. January 31st is the day Final Fantasy VII came out back in 1997. And so the anniversary just a few days ago, Japan now has January 31st as National Final Fantasy VII Day. And that's pretty cool. I dig that. I dig stuff like that.
When's America going to recognize that?
I know.
I need that day off.
And we also have a lovely message from Yoshinori Kitase, director of Final Fantasy VII and producer on the remake. Is January 31st of January 1997, the day that Final Fantasy VII came out, was not just a significant day for the Final Fantasy series, but also marked when so many big things started moving for those of us who worked on the game. I remember being overwhelmed at the breakneck speed with which video game technology was evolving, but also dreaming big things for the future. With the establishment of this official anniversary day, I will now always remember these things and hold them dearly in my heart. So nice little message. It's very cool. I thought it was very cool. And then there's Cloud and other characters. The Spotify, they put some playlists on Spotify of 6 different characters, Cloud, Sephiroth, Tifa, stuff like that, and of playlists of music for their specific character. Power wash simulator, Tark's favorite thing. Tark's favorite. You gonna go clean Midgar?
I'm not gonna go clean anything. If I clean anything, it'll go be my dishes or my laundry.
You're not gonna clean Midgar?
No, that'll be fun.
And then to round all of it off, here are 4 classic scenes from Final Fantasy VII that they are currently voting on their Twitter right now. That whichever one wins, they're going to recreate one of these scenes in Lego and then give that art piece away. So we've got here's number 1. We've got young Cloud and Tifa at Nibelheim, at the old water cooler, so to speak, water tower. We got Aerith's church there. Lighting on that looks awesome. I didn't get a chance to look at this. Where is this? I don't remember this.
That's Aerith's house.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you. And then we have, of course, the honeybee. So you can vote for one. They're going to make one out of Lego, one of these art pieces out of Lego, and then kind of raffle it off or do something contest related with it and give it away later. Tark, which one you voting for?
Probably the honeybee, but the real crossover I want is the Final Fantasy, instead of Pixel remaster, Lego remaster. Make that happen. That'd be
it's called the original Final Fantasy VII. That's the Lego remaster.
Close enough.
So
right?
that's one vote for the
Pretty much,
honeybee.
yeah.
Kronos, where are you? Where's your vote?
To me, out of those 4, the most iconic is probably the first one, like the water tower.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
I
like
think
if
so,
you're
too.
only, basically it sounds like they were only picking like remake scenes. So I think that's probably the most iconic.
What's weird is the water tower is my number 1 and the honeybee was my number 2. So like we're all on the same page. As
The honeybee
far as
might win though. I feel like a lot of people are probably going to vote for the honeybee.
It might. I actually don't know who's winning right now. Can we see that? Let me go check it out on their Twitter. Lego collab. Where are you? There you are. Cast your vote. So it's a form. They're not taking it's not like a Twitter poll or anything. Start. All right. So I'm going to vote for Water Tower Nibelheim. Submit. Thanks for your vote. No, we don't know who's winning right now. So, but I have cast my vote on behalf of Ready Check Radio's Relic Grind podcast for the Water Tower. Sorry, Tark.
Oh, good. Water tower would be my number 2. So,
all right, last bit, and this is wild. This is a rumor right now, so grains of salt. But we do know that Amazon is publishing the next Tomb Raider game. And they also have interests in other media, movies, series, stuff like that. That's all confirmed. We've known that for a while. We've talked about it on this show. What the rumor started as is that the Embracer Group sold the Tomb Raider rights to Amazon for $600 million. Let's keep in mind that the Embracer Group bought everything from Square Enix for $300 million.
That's what you call a fleecing. So that's called.
Flip that crap. Like, clearly
and
Square doesn't know what to do with this.
At
We'll
the
make
time,
some money off of it.
Exactly. At the time, all 3 of us were like, really? They didn't get just $300 for just Tomb Raider? Like,
yeah,
that's weird. That's weird. So that was the rumor. They doubled their money on the sale. But that rumor, which is still a rumor, by the way, and this is according to fellowshipfans.com, who does a lot of reporting on Lord of the Rings stuff, hence being involved in the Amazon stuff, where this leaked into it. They did make an update to their original text. So now it reads that the Embracer Group just leased their Tomb Raider rights to Amazon for a deal that we can exclusively reveal as being approximately a $600 million overall package, making it Amazon's second biggest commitment after purchasing the television rights for The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Therefore, this puts into perspective the cost and updated commitments that Embracer may be looking for. Leased it to Amazon for 600 million Kronos. That's nuts.
That's wild. It feels like some pyramid scheme type stuff. I don't know, man. Like, it's just weird. It's like so weird that they're paying that much money, like, just to like borrow it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Embracer has done other things with other IPs where they are very, look, I want a high a high power investor that's going to give me a substantial front, because I don't want to just lease Tomb Raider to you, Tark, to make one game. I'm looking for a partner that's going to do a lot of investment and a lot of different things with this
Build the
IP,
brand
whether it be whether it be Lord of the Rings, which by the way, they're trying to get Warner Brothers to walk away from that one at the end of the year. They sent that letter. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah.
But
Right
yes,
about
they
that.
got, the rumor is that they leased it to Amazon for $600 million, which means they bought it and a lot of other stuff, a lot of other studios for $300 million, and then are basically lending it to Amazon for twice that. Tark.
Now, can we imagine, like, if they had that kind of business acumen that apparently Embracer does have? I mean, 300 to 600, you already made a profit in less than a year. If we could put some of that in Square Enix and maybe, not do NFTs and maybe, these properties that we could, work with and lease them out. And oh my God, just sometimes the incompetence with Square Enix just baffles me.
Takao, what's happening with Warner Brothers? Middle Earth Enterprises wants Warner Brothers to walk away from their film rights and movie rights to the Lord of the Rings at the end of the year, because they want to search for new rights holders for Lord of the Rings. But who knows what will actually happen? They've officially asked. Warner Brothers has not done anything on it yet. Yeah, there's a new Tomb Raider mobile game, which nobody asked for and nobody cares about. Maybe it's good. Maybe you love it, and if so, I'm sorry. I mean, good for you. Good for you. You found something you like. Let's go do Love It or Leave It. Love It or Leave It is the way we end every episode of the Relic Grind here on Ready Check Radio. It's where I give you something Square Enix related. Could be a game, a feature in a game, something they've done, something they've said, or even just something tangentially related, because it's my show. And you tell me whether you like it, love it, want more of it, or leave it, set it aside, never to be seen again. And so, Tark, I ask you, do you love or leave Amazon with their hands on the Tomb Raider franchise in any way? I mean, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, not generally the best received thing on the planet. Their games that they've produced, or that they've developed, I should say, not generally well received, at least out of the gate with things like Loon World. Do you want Amazon? Do you love this idea, or leave it?
I'm going to go with love this idea. I know, like you said, not a lot of people loved Rings of Power. I think it going head to head with Games of Thrones might have not helped it in that regard. So there were direct comparisons because they were released at the same time. I liked Rings of Power. I kind of liked what they did with the mythology before the Third Age. I also like what Amazon's done with other properties. The Boys, Reacher was awesome. So they're putting out good TV, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to that. As far as the games, I think they're on the right track. They're building towards knowing how to put out a good game. New World is continuing to progress, and a lot of people like Ginger Prime are all on board the New World roadmap that they have in front of them. Lost Ark, had a good following. I think it's still going decently. So yeah, I'll take Love It. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they have in store with it.
All right, you heard it here first from Tarkoth. Amazon puts out. Go ahead, Kronos.
I feel like I was going to say everything that Tarkov just said. He stole my answer.
So you're going to love it
answer.
too.
There's
what's funny is I still had to think about it, because the idea of Amazon buying something, I don't know, but I do feel like Amazon, all the stuff that Tarkov mentioned.
I hate the idea of Amazon touching anything.
Which is why,
because they already touch everything.
Yeah. But I think I enjoy all the stuff that Tarkov just said. I haven't really played New World, so I can't really speak to that. I tried Lost Ark for a little bit. It wasn't my thing, but I think it was fine. Maybe outside of some of the pay to win stuff, but all those TV shows you mentioned, I actually like Rings of Power. I might be in the minority there as well.
I'm with you. I liked it.
Invincible is another one I think he didn't mention that I really enjoyed.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So yeah, if it's I think I'm more excited probably for the TV movie side of the deal than the game side. But we'll see. I also wasn't a huge fan of the more modern Tomb Raider stuff. So we'll see. But I would probably say love it.
I want to fence sit on this, but obviously we can't.
No
You're not allowed. Because if I look at it just from the game side, I probably love it. Because they're not developing the games. It's still in the... unlike you, Kronos, I liked the newer Tomb Raiders.
Yeah,
and that's still in the hands of the same people. So I kind of like the idea of Amazon's backing behind these people continuing to do what they were doing. I was lukewarm on Rings of Power at best, if I'm being honest. There were some good episodes and then some really, really bad episodes, and they did kind of funk around with some of the lore in a way that I was like, that's kind of a misinterpretation or a purposeful editing for the sake of drama, which is fine. I get it. Movies and TV shows are shorter and you got to make it work. So I don't have a problem with it. Just means I didn't personally enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. I want to love the game side and leave the movie media side because they're just going to slam it into the frickin' ground. Like you're going to see all this damn Tomb Raider stuff just start flooding out, and I'm going to leave it. I would almost love it more if it was just sold to Amazon. Than this leasing thing. Yeah, I'm going to go with leave it. I do like the idea of the video game side. I just have a feeling that they're going to run this into the ground to the point that I'm sick of looking at anything that is branded with Tomb Raider. And you know what? If you're going to spend $600 million, I can't blame you for doing it either. I can't blame. They just see like The Last of Us and stuff like that, and it's just and how popular and how well that show is doing, and it's just like we want our own. Yeah, I get it. I'm gonna leave it, but just barely. That's going to do it for us here on the Relic Grind. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little bit of time today. Let us know what you thought of any of our topics in the comments, whether that's FFTCG's Organized Play Season, Final Fantasy XIV's Ultimate Fiasco, hell, Amazon and Tomb Raider. You know, that's not really Square Enix related now, but we kind of wanted to say, yeah, Square, you fire sold those items, and we told you did at the time. Until next week, we'll be back Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Remember, the following week, the 16th, there will be no Relic Grind. We'll be off that day, but we will see you next week. Now, will we be live streaming on the 7th or not? I don't know. We'll see. I got to believe if the 7th presentation was real, the announcement would be out by now. Like, maybe tomorrow. I don't think you'd do it any later than that, so we'll see. Until then, Kronos, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, same as always, Twitter. I got a week off from football. I'm not watching the Pro Bowl because I really don't care about it. Yeah, just cancel it at this point. But I am rating in the Ultimate, so that's been a lot of fun. So I'll probably be tweeting about that. We're on phase 2 now. So
nice.
Yeah.
Tark.
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all at Tarkoth Gaming. I start my Ultimate adventure tonight in like an hour, so definitely tune in for that. Also, check me out here on Ready Check Radio on Saturday nights, where we finish Voice of Cards, and I'm going to move over to Final Fantasy XV.
Nice. Chat, don't go anywhere after the show. We'll be bringing Faye live. What's up, Faye?
What up? How y'all doing?
How are you?
Doing pretty good. We, I believe I figured out how to kill the shadow that was bedeviling us last week. So we're gonna get ready and
back into Icewind Dale.
Yeah.
Put on the coats. It's gonna be cold. Don't go anywhere, chat. Give us about a minute. We'll set Faye up with the new stream name and everything. She'll go live, and you guys can hang out on this fun Thursday night. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at Magic Man 1, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio, RAIDEO on Twitter, and you'll know every time we go live with a stream or a podcast or Final Fantasy TCG or whatever the hell I feel like doing. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. Later.